you know, I appreciate the fact that you turned yourself in, but because there's somebody that could have seen you and we can't, that the problem for us is a double standard.
Yeah.
I just, so I have to DQ you from the tournament. I mean, you're more of a man than anybody else would.
Howdy folks, Chase Odeen here with Chase Odeen Go Chase, go, you're going over. Hurry, hurry. Let's go. I'm coming, Jim, I'm coming. Howdy folks, you just saw the kickoff of the Washington Kayak Bass Fishing Loon Lake event. Happened June 19th, 2021. And I know I don't do a lot of preface to the tournaments, you know, I just kind of put them on there, do a voiceover, and we go from there. I felt that this tournament definitely needed a little bit of a backdrop before we jumped straight to the catching. If you want to jump straight to me nailing some bass, it's further in the video, just skip this part. I do hope that you watch this part though, because it's a valuable lesson that I learned, actually quite a few, and I think that any angler should hear this if he hasn't, or at least needs to. So, anywho, to kick things off, I just want to say that I wanted to fish this event, but it wasn't in my schedule. So I'm going through kind of a transitional period right now in my life, and I'm trying to figure out exactly, you know, what's going to be my next step. And I had an opening because of work to go fish an event that was quite a ways away from my house. So I took this as an opportunity to figure out if I could go to a lake I've never fished before, have 3 solid days of pre-fishing, and then on the 4th day be able to get in the money for a tournament. I know that sounds kind of weird, or maybe it doesn't, maybe that's right up your alley, but I needed to prove it to myself. I've been having a fairly successful year for all of my tournaments. I think I have 4 top 10s now, or 5, right in there, and we're about halfway through. So out of, I think it's been about 6 tournaments right in there, I know I have at least 4 top 10s. So I wanted to test the theory of if I can go to a lake and have time to figure out the lake, if I can get in the money. So that was my goal. I left 3 days before it started. I had to go get a loaner kayak from Pacific Northwest Kayaks. Thanks again, Colt and Jim, I really appreciated that. My good old Feel Free Lure V2 had some mechanical issues. I'm going to be back in the Lure V2 next tournament, but this was a Jackson big rig that I was hand paddling. So you're going to see in the video a few times where I'm like literally casting out and I still have the rod in my hand and I'm standing up and I'm trying to paddle. So that was a little tricky, but I had a couple days to get used to it, which was good. But really, I just wanted to prove to myself, hey, if you've never fished a lake before, are you good enough? Are you a good enough angler to go out and see if you can win this thing if you have time to pre-fish it? So I left my house 3 days before, like I said, and I found a camping area where I just slept in the back of my van for 3 days in a row. I got my kayak trailer all set up now, so it worked out pretty well in that sense. But, and here's the big but of this entire video, the tournament did not go the way that I wanted to. And it all happened within the first hour. I was very, very excited to get going on this tournament. I knew where fish were, I found them, I was excited. I learned a lot about pre-fishing during this tournament too, and that's also another thing I want to kind of make a video about later on. But I was very excited to get going. As you can see, when I'm paddling off from the get-go, I mean, I'm going quick. And I had some very specific docks along the north side of Loon Lake that I wanted to hit. And I tried to beeline for my first dock as fast as I possibly could. And another angler beat me to it, and that's fine. You know, he had a faster kayak. He knew it was a good spot too, so he beat me to my first dock. My first dock was further away from the ramp than dock number 2. So I've been kind of timing out, you know, every morning, hey, how long does it take me to get here? How long does it take me to get there? You know, etc. So I knew that if we launched at 4:30, it would be 4:45, 4:46 by the time I get to dock number 1. So I paddled as hard as I could, and I realized, hey, there's somebody else already on it. He beat you to it. So I stopped short. And I start fishing another dock. And it's either my first or second cast that, boom, fish on, right? I mean, second cast of a tournament, fish on. A nice smallmouth bass. It was right around 14, 15 inches right in there. So a great way to start the tournament, second cast. I realized all at once that I didn't check the time before I cast. I'm a pretty big stickler on rules, but I took out my phone to start getting ready to take the picture of the bass, and I look at the phone, it says 4:41. And lines in, we're at 4:45. And I had a bass on the line in the water. So I was 4 minutes early to lines in. And I wish I could tell you I immediately did the right thing. In 30 seconds, I let the bass go and I called the tournament director. I didn't. That wasn't like an instant thing for me. I'd put so much time and effort into this one tournament that I thought about, hey, you know what? I'm just going to let it go and keep fishing, hope that nobody saw me. Or I'm going to just let a bunch of line out on my spool, let it swim around for a little bit, wait until 4:45, set the hook. But I sat there and I realized, you know, first and foremost, I got to let the fish go. It's caught illegally. So I do that part of it. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know this is going to eat away at me for the rest of the tournament. I know that I cheated. And that's just the plain and simple fact of it. So I call the tournament director and I tell him, hey, I fucked up. I cast before lines in. And he said, you know, lines in are at 4:45. We had a little discussion about it. He wasn't upset. He totally understood. He definitely understood where I was coming from. I was very excited. I explained to him the situation as well. And so he tells me to hang tight. And he calls the president of our little fishing league here in the Pacific Northwest, Kayak Fishing Northwest, and he calls another tournament director just to get a feel for it. And they basically kind of take a vote. And he calls me back and he says, hey, just hang tight, I'm going to come to you. So I know the news is not going to be good. So I hang tight, and he comes to me, and I'm disqualified. You know, and I tell him, hey, I know that was the right thing to do, but I'm very, very upset, as you can see in the video. It was hard. It was a hard choice to make. But at the end, really it wasn't, right? I probably wouldn't have fished nearly as well as I could have if I knew that I was going to be eating away at me the entire time. And coming clean, you know, you can't fish with a dirty conscience. Is kind of always been my motto. I don't like to have bad things going on at the home front while I try to fish a tournament. I don't like my mind being somewhere else. I'm there to fish and I'm focused on it. And if I don't have a clean slate up here, I'm not going to fish very well. That's just the simple fact. And I knew that. I'm happy I made the right choice, but I was upset because I knew where fish were at the same time. So after a good cry, I decided that I'm going to fish this tournament the exact same way I would have if I was still fishing it. And I ended up just submitting fish to one of my friends. He was my judge for the tournament, and he kept track of where I was at compared to everybody else, which was really nice of him. I appreciate that a lot. And I ended up having a really good day on the water of fun fishing. Finally. Oh my goodness. Well, okay. Oh, she's up here real quick. Oh. Jeez, about time. There you go. Nice. Oh, it's a nice one. Oh, stay on the hook. Stay on the hook. Stay on the hook. That's a chunk. Oh, don't come off, don't come off. Oh, that's a nice one. Oh, I knew we'd get him eventually. Let him run for a little bit. Okay. Don't horse him. Oh. Keep the tension. Net ready. Oh. Whew. Come on. There. Get back out of the grass. Back out of the grass. Now I just gotta get him in the boat. Got him. Nice one. X-Zone Mini Swammer 309 color. Beautiful. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Just drifting these weeds out here in the middle of the lake. Woo! Alright. Measure. You might measure. Probably not. Five fish. I had 5 bites, 5 fish, and I would have placed in the money. So I'm not going to tell you where or my lengths. I don't want to take away any victories or say, oh, I would have won that or I would have gotten in the money. because I didn't, because I cheated and I disqualified myself, and that's the simple fact of it. There was no anglers around me when it happened. I think I easily could have gotten away with it, but I know that would have been the wrong thing to do. And we have to live by a certain moral code, on the water, off the water, whatever it is. And if you start to lose that, then you lose who you are as a person. Whew, it's tough to talk about. So real quick, let me go through the baits that were very successful for me on Loon Lake. There are a lot of some familiar ones that you've already seen me talk about. This guy right here, this is the X-Zone Swammer on a Wicked Weights quality tungsten sidewinder. Hopefully you guys can see that. And that is the green pumpkin blue fleck color. Come out a little bit, there you go. And this was dynamite in the grass edges. It got really warm for a couple days. It still is pretty warm. And a little sweat coming from my brow. So I knew the bass were going to push out a little bit or tuck under docks. And that was kind of the pattern that I went with for the day. I was either going to hit docks, which I wanted to do first, and then go to a nice kind of weed line that I found underneath the water. The water was crystal clear. You could see down almost 20 feet. It was amazing, which was good for me because I didn't have any graphs or anything on my kayak. I wasn't really familiar with it. So when I was pre-fishing, I'd just stand up, hand paddle, and look for these isolated weed patches. And I figured out when I was pre-fishing that if I threw one of these mini swammers or a swammer by X-Zone in there enough times, then I would definitely catch a fish. So, and then this is P-Line Tactical Fluorocarbon, 12 pounds. So, and then another one that I caught some nice bass on pre-fishing, and then one good largemouth, and you'll see that in the video, was this guy right here. This is the X-Zone Whiplash Shad. And that is actually rigged weightless, Texas style, on a 5/0 Vector EWG hook. Right there. And this guy was money. So when I was pre-fishing, I caught a few blowing up white spook on the surface. And morning of the tournament, that was not working. So I basically made the same exact bait, except about 2 inches under the water, and that worked out really well. It's a great fish I got on that. And the last thing that I caught bass on, this guy right here. So this is the X-Zone Lures Deception Worm, in, I think it's called sprayed grass, and that is rigged Texas style on a finesse light wire worm hook, just like that. Make sure you guys can see that. Boom, going to a Wicked Weights quality tungsten torpedo drop shot weight. And this is about the length that I fished it that day. The reason that I went with this instead of a circle hook is I also wanted to throw this in the grass as well. But unlike the sidewinder that had the exposed hook on it, you know, you're swimming that through the grass, it catches something and you rip it through, which is exactly what you want to do. With that drop shot, I wanted to drop it straight down into the grass and work it that way, and I needed it to be weedless for that to work. So that was not a technique I came up with myself. That was actually from a teammate on the Vector Hooks team. So, but yeah, those were the three big ones: the X-Zone Swammer, the X-Zone Deception Worm, and the X-Zone Whiplash Shad. Of course, you know, I'm rocking my Enigma setups. This is the Phenom rod for that drop shot. I absolutely love that rod. And the other one is the classic HPT. So, and that's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle. I Wish this was a different kind of video. I wish I could tell you that I went there and I placed third and crushed it, and I proved to myself that I'm ready to go, you know, travel across the country and hit all the big ones, because now I have confidence in the fact that if I have time to pre-fish, I can figure out a lake. And I do have a little bit more of that, absolutely. But what I don't have, or what I didn't have that day, was the patience and the foresight to just know, hey, you need to sit back, relax, check your phone, check the time, because really at the end of the day, this is what happened. I traveled 8 hours, pre-fished a tournament for 3 days, and disqualified myself in the first 15 minutes, actually before the tournament even started. So if that doesn't break your heart, I don't think anything will. But that sums it up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you get a second, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I don't think this is going to be my most popular video in the world. The camera angle was a little weird, and you know, there's a lot of this right here. But if you get a second, throw something in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see next. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and thank you for checking out the channel. Howdy folks, Odeen here with Odeen Fishing.